Good morning to the evaluators Madam Suryani and Madam Dewey. The title of my action research is Using Video Dubbing Activity to Improve Pronunciations of the Voice and the Voices Sounds among Year 5 pupils. First, I will start with some background and context of this research. Recently, there are many significant changes and reforms in English language curriculum. One of them is the adoption of CEFR as benchmark to assess pupils' proficiency. In this new CEFR-aligned syllabus, pupils are expected to achieve a level of A1 by year 3 and a level of A2 by year 6, which is the higher end of basic user proficiency. As we all know, there are 4 main basic language skills, which are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Under speaking skill, it is stipulated clearly in KSSR document that pupils are expected to communicate confidently and appropriately, and to do this, pronunciation plays a very important role. In Malaysia, where English is learned as second language, learners need to acquire listener-friendly, but not the native-like pronunciation. However, this pronunciation component is the most neglected part in the English classroom, and Shaq Lee Stephen highlight 3 factors of this negligence in the classroom. First is the influence of age and mother tongue. Second is the fluency versus accuracy and limited knowledge of teaching approaches. This research is conducted in one of the primary schools in Seremban town to 5 participants with intermediate level of proficiency, and Mandarin is the main medium of communication. As I reflect back my teaching and learning experience, I find that speaking is the toughest skill for me to teach in the classroom, mainly because the interference of mother tongue, and there is an excessive use of grammar translation method where instructions and grammatical explanation are all given in mother tongue, and I realized myself failed to give sufficient input and practice in pronunciation part, and when my pupils make mistake, I correct them instantly without any reinforcement or follow-up activities after that. So there is a lack of corrective feedback on pupils' incorrect pronunciation. Based on this preliminary data, it reveals that my pupils tend to substitute the dental fricative sounds, consonant sounds, with the alveolar stops, which are the t and the, and in some cases labiodental fricative sound, which is the f sounds. So to determine the focus of investigation, I used a root cause analysis, and I find that the problems why my students mispronounce these 2 target sounds lie within my own teaching practice. That is, I do not give sufficient practice and the exposure of the sound articulations to my pupils. There are 3 research objectives in this research, which are to explore the use of video dubbing activity in improving pronunciations of TH sounds among Year 5 pupils, to explore the perceptions on the use of video dubbing activity, and to explore the learning points which arise from the action research that may improve and enrich me professionally. These are the research questions. How does the use of video dubbing activity help to the participants to improve the pronunciation, and what are the perceptions and what are the learning points? These are the 5 research participants who participate in my research. They are all at the intermediate level of proficiency, and in terms of attitude and behavior, they are really disciplined and willing to follow instruction. Only that the participant 3 and participant 4 is quite shy and passive in taking part in the classroom activities or discussions. So for this action research, I have chosen to use this chemist and mathematical model, which consists of 4 phases: plan, act, observe, and reflect. So there are a total of 2 cycles of implementation follow these 4 phases: plan, During action, I introduce and guide them to use, observe, I collect and analyze my data and reflect back. For cycle 2, because I find that my cycle 1, the result from my cycle 1 is not very satisfying, so that's why I carry out the second cycle. And because I find that my pupils still have difficulty in differentiate the difference between the voice and the voiceless, and I find that the time for me to give the proper input on the articulations is not enough. That's why I make changes to the intervention. I add this colored coded element into my intervention. So during action, I introduce the new element to them and observe, collect, analyze the data and reflect back to identify the strengths and weaknesses. So the intervention is called video dubbing activity. It originates from the filmmaking industry, and it is the process of adding the new dialogue to the soundtrack of a motion picture that has already been shot, which is the video. I will extract short clip from movie for my pupils to do the dubbing activity. So there are 5 justifications why I use this video dubbing as my intervention. First, it uses clips from movie as instructional material. In accordance to questions input hypothesis, authentic comprehensible input is very important for language learning. Second, it encourages language production. When they dub the video, it pushes them to produce the target language, and it also encourages them to notice the mistakes they make in their utterances. Okay, and then number 3, it is done through imitation. They imitate the model given, and it gives them meaningful communicative practice rather than the repetition and drilling. And next one, it has the evaluation element. They can, after they dub the video, they play back and listen and identify their mistakes. So these are my steps of intervention. There are 2 cycles of implementation. Follow all these steps. Okay, first I give them a pre-video dubbing task. Second is the active viewing stage. In this active viewing stage, I will let them watch the video, and I give inputs on the sound articulations, and they will listen to the model for the first few times, and then this is the element I add in during my second cycle, which is the color coded sounds. I introduce this color coded table, and they have to highlight the TH words in the script using different colors. For bright yellow indicates the voice TH sound, and green color indicates the voiceless TH sounds. Then next, they will practice with their partner, practice the dialogue with their partner. And next is the video dubbing. This is an example of 2 participants in the dubbing process. So when they dub, I will use this application called Screencastify to screen record the whole process.
That's the one. Say the paper says new candidates aren't selling very well, but I suppose maybe just a local egg deserves it.
Okay, and then the next one is a peer evaluation. After they've done the video, they play back and listen and identify their mistake and correct their mistake. The last one is a post-video dubbing task to assess their performance after the intervention. So there are 4 data collection methods in this research. The first is audio recordings, which is the reading aloud task. There are a total of 10 sentences with 25 target words in the task. And then the next one is observation checklist with 4-point rating scale. In this observation checklist, I have determined 5 aspects of behavior. I've determined the 5 aspects of the behavior that I observe in this research to see if there is any improvement, to see how video dubbing help them to improve their pronunciation. And going back is the is semi-structured interview and also the reflective journals. So this is the summary of the research collection and analysis methods. For research questions 1, how does the use of video dubbing activity help? I use the instrument task checklist, interview, and journal. For the research questions 2, what are the perceptions I used to interview, and what are the third one, what are the learning points gained from this research? I used the semi-structured interview and also reflective journal. For the task, I will use the data are transcribed, and then an error analysis will be I do an error analysis and identify the scores for each participant, and later I do a descriptive analysis, which is compare the result using mean score. And then for the observational checklist, the rating scale for each expert is being analyzed. And semi-structured interview, the verbal data is transcribed and highlight the keywords, the important phrases pertaining to the research questions are highlighted and coded and put under themes. For reflective journals, the content is being analyzed using coding. Now moving on to the research findings of pre and post tasks. Here, the first cycle, as you can see here, that most participants fail to meet the pass requirement, which is 50%. The highest they get is only 44%. And for cycle 2, you can see there is an improvement there, where every participants improve from their previous score, which is a post task, the first post task, and the highest they get is 84%, and all the participants have met the pass requirements, which is 50%. From the mean score, as you can see here, there's a significant improvement in the score from 8.8% to 30.2% and to 74.4%. It shows that they make improvement in the pronunciations of the target sound. This is an example of their task I extract from the task. So as you can see, the errors they make become less and less. So next is the research findings from the observational checklist. There are 5 aspects of behavior that are observed in this research, which are the awareness, the interest and motivation, the collaboration skills, the self-confidence level, and the independent learning skills. In general, most of the participants obtain lower rating scale, which is 1 or 2 at the beginning of intervention, but as they progress towards the end of the intervention, which is cycle 2, they obtain a higher rating scale, which is 3 and 4. It thus shows that the video dubbing activity has helped my pupils to improve the pronunciations by raising the awareness, by maintaining the interest and motivations through collaborative work, through increasing their self-confidence level, and through developing their independent learning skills. The research findings for interview review 3 main themes. The first one is the positive perceptions, and number 2, different ways to learn pronunciations through the intervention. Number 3 is the positive impacts of the intervention. So for the positive perceptions, this intervention has been perceived as a creative teaching learning activity, and it has high motivational value, and all participants express positive feelings towards this activity. They say something like, I like the activity, it is a new experience for them, and etc. So for the different ways, from the conversation, I find three ways they use this video dubbing activity to improve the pronunciation. First is practice, second imitation, meaningful modeling, number 3 is collaborative work. They help each other and they improve from that. Number 3, positive impact of the intervention. This intervention results in improvement in demonstrating the articulation of the target sounds. They can articulate the target sounds correctly, and it also instills integrative motivation. They develop a favorable attitude towards the target language, and also development of self-efficacy. They believe that they improve and they believe they can do it. There are five main points from the reflective journals. First, it is important to plan the teaching and learning activities based on learners' interests. Number two, technology is able to develop independent learning skills, which will reduce the burden of the teachers and teach our students to learn how to learn. And number three, it is important in pronunciation instruction that we must have meaningful modeling practice as compared to the repetition and drilling method. And number four, collaborative work has a great impact on learners' learning. The process of scaffolding can help one learner and can help the learners to work with each other to help each other to reach the learning goals. And number three, it is very important to select or make adaptation to instructional materials, because during the video dubbing, the movie I have chosen, my learners cannot follow the speed of the movie I have chosen, so I have to make amendments in the second cycle to make sure my students can follow the speed of the movie. But as they practice, they can get it. As they practice, they can get it a bit better. So for the research questions, number one, how does the use of video dubbing activity help participants to improve pronunciations of the target sounds? First, from the task, all participants meet the requirements of past status after 2 cycles of implementation. From the observational checklist, they obtain a higher rating scale at the end, which proves that the activity the intervention raise awareness, engage learners' interest in learning, and encourages collaborative work, self-confidence, increase their self-confidence level, and develop their independent learning skills, which help them to improve in the pronunciation. Number 3, interview. There are 3 ways they use the video dubbing activity. First is modeling, through communicative practice, and number 3, collaborative work. From the reflective journals, it is found that technology-enabled pedagogical practices promotes meaningful and memorable learning. What are the perceptions on the use of video dubbing activity to improve the pronunciation? From teacher perspective, it is perceived as a very creative, fun, and motivated instructional material. And for the participants, they all feel good. It is an interesting and new experience for them. For research question number 3, what are the learning points gained from this research? From semi-structured interview, I learned that it is important the importance of giving modeling and meaningful practice in pronunciation instruction. From reflective journal, I learned the powerful impacts of ICT, which engage students in learning, develop independent learning skills, and it is a rich source of authentic materials. And number 2 is the benefits of collaborative work. Number 3 is the importance of selecting the appropriate teaching and learning materials. So for the reflection, I have identified some strengths and weaknesses in this action research. For the strengths, this intervention provides good model of pronunciation. It also provides meaningful practice where the sounds are practiced in combination with other sounds but not in isolated. Number 3, technology encourages active learning. The learners are the one to explore the knowledge and to learn. And the weaknesses of this action identified in this research is there is an inappropriate selection of learning materials and insufficient technological support. Because I only use one laptop and pupils have to wait for their turn to use the laptop to do the dubbing. There are some recommendations for future research. First, it can be used to treat other problematic sounds encountered by the learners. Second, the intervention can be used to improve suprasegmental features of speech, such as stress and intonation, speed and fluency. Number 3, adequate technical support and assistance is needed for a broader area of research. Number 4, it can be considered with that we can use videos of non-native speakers as resource material, since accent is not an issue of an accurate pronunciation. So videos of these non-native speakers might be more familiar with students might be more familiar with these videos of non-native speakers. So these are some references and appendices attached with this PowerPoint presentation. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention.